Hi, I'm Thorsten, and I'm excited about Filipe Andrade joining me today to talk about his career, his art, and himself, really. We're putting a special focus on the many deaths of Laila Starr, a book that was nominated for 4 Eisner Awards. So congratulations on that, Filipe.
Thank you very much. And thank you for having me here too.
Thank you for joining. You have also done work for Marvel. You contributed either art, inks, or color to many titles people might not even know. So it's you work on Iron Man, Captain America, Black Widow, Wolverine, Moon Knight, the Immortal Hulk, and Star. That's like I was surprised to see the list because it's not always obvious and printed on the books, right? So, but you have been working for Marvel a lot. So let's talk a little bit about your background. You started out in sculpturing, and you have a degree in sculpture from the Fine Arts Academy in Lisbon. Then later you studied illustration and script writing, as well as pre-production. So tell me more about how you made the jump from sculpture to comics.
This is actually how I did a jump from comics to sculpture, because I was kind of a surprise, because it was just my level of how you call it in the end of the year. I'm not sure the name in English. But the points that I got was just enough to get into sculpture. That was like my second or third choice. I wanted to go to painting, and but in the end, it was one of the most important and surprising steps of my early career in a way, because I discovered the drawing discipline in a completely different perspective. That helped me a lot to shape the artist that I am today, actually.
Awesome. So you're using elements from sculpturing for your art, in your art?
It's just when the drawing of a sculpture is a different kind of drawing, because you draw in a more volumetric way. So this kind of helps to see the things with a deeper angle. It's a little bit abstract, but it's like jumping from 2D to 3D in reality, in the way of thinking. And since my comics or my approach to comics or art in generally, like related with sequential art, is more cinematic. I feel really comfortable thinking on like white panels. So this was just another upgrade for that way of thinking, because sculpture, it seems that is just like an object, but the way you construct the vision of it, it's completely different from building something for a 2D way of view.
So you can tell that in your art, because you're using a lot of interesting angles. You don't have the side shot all the time. You're changing it up with like camera angle basically being from below or from the side, and different unique ways that like are not really common in comics.
Yeah, because of that. Because when you approach to a sculpture, it's like a kind of a monument. You look in different angles. So I kind of always get to use to see the things in this way, like observing from different angles. So I don't get bored too. And in comics, that helps me a lot. I work with a steady camera, but then I change the angles of it. So it comes from that.
Awesome. And then later on, you studied script writing. Is that something you're still pursuing, or are you putting all your focus on drawing comics?
Was not script writing that I've studied, but I've done I've done a pre-production degree in Norman School in Los Angeles, and this was just short courses, but it helped me a lot in a different ways. But regarding your question, I don't have a course of writing or script writing, but I've been developing through the years my way of writing and discovering my author way of think, So I've done 3 projects so far for my previous studio, and it's been that. Yeah.
Sounds good. Yeah, I found that in a bio I found online, so I'll provide feedback there that might be needing some updating. You're from Lisbon. You live in Lisbon as well, Portugal. How does the city influence your work as an artist?
I didn't live here for some time because I've lived abroad, but Lisbon is always good. It's good for inspiration related with the colors and light. So it shapes a lot of my, especially for example in projects like Laila Starr. I was being lucky enough to do a crazy drive between home and in the studio by bicycle near the river, and the colors were just like insane because we are in the delta, so it's like a huge amount of cloudy or non-cloudy skies, but really far away clouds. So it gives like basically they are pure paintings, So it's just perfect for either imagination or color key or stuff like that, So influence is a lot.
And it's not only Lisbon that had an impact on you. I know you lived in not only Portugal but in Italy, in Los Angeles, in Hong Kong, but traveled to many other places. Are you taking inspiration from all of that and adapting that to your art?
Yeah, it's impossible not to, because most of the cities that I've lived or passed by always shapes you in some ways, and inspire in some ways. Like for example, the cities from like Los Angeles are so different from anything that we have in Europe, for example, or in Latin Europe. And if you think about Hong Kong, is the even the sizes of the housings, so the apartments. So everything affects you, and this will be seen through the art in different aspects. But yeah, definitely.
Awesome. So with regards to the many deaths of Laila Starr, you're nominated for 3 Eisners: Best Series, Best Limited Series, Best Artist, Best Coloring. That's the second most nominations, just after James Tynan with 5. And you have one more than Ram with 2. Have you teased Ram yet about having more nominations than him?
But actually, there's 4 nominations because Ram as a nominate is nominated to
as best writer.
Yeah. Best writer, yeah. So the project is amazing.
The project has 4, and yeah, it deserves every single one of them.
A lot of people are telling me that, or are sending me messages with that. So that's the most important thing, like prizes in the end are fair for the projects. That's what I believe. Of course, it's good if I win. It's good for my personal perspective, but it's been beautiful actually, because I've been receiving so much love from the book, So the people are not just digging the art, but are digging the whole thing, and in the end, that's all it matters.
Yeah, and it's probably from all over the world. I saw the book's been translated into Spanish, into French now. By the way, they all get hardcovers. I don't know why in English we don't have a hardcover. I know the French version and the Spanish version are hardcovers. Do you have any insights into if we're getting a hardcover?
I can tell you that, but maybe yes. I don't know. Let's see what the future brings.
Yeah.
The numbers are being crazy. The selling are... the people are really enjoying and being related with the book. Yeah.
No, it's great. And how did the project come together? How did you get in touch with Eric, who's the editor at Boom, and then Ram when getting the job to work on that book?
It was really one of those communication through Instagram, actually. They were looking for kind of an artist like like me, because they liked my vision out of it, of comics. And then we start talking. I instantly, when I read the plot, I knew it was like an amazing project, because it was beautiful written, even just the synopsis. And since day one, I feel engaged. And Eric Bram is a buddy already. You know, it's like it's on. You've talked with him. He's such an easygoing guy. And also, you can go into deep conversations or lighter, or he has like a different approaches to life, but always like in a good way, I feel. And this is really important when you're trying to communicate with somebody that actually you don't know. But I've been finding myself comfortable talking with him, you know, and the same with Eric. Eric, I didn't meet him yet, but he was a really good editor for the project.
Yeah, I think that's also one of the challenges probably during the time of the pandemic, that you couldn't really meet in person, because when that book first, I guess when the work started on it, it was already in the pandemic, I believe, or shortly before. But I assume most of the communications happen remotely with Ram. Was it difficult, or how was it being only able to communicate virtually?
Everyone was really an expert of this kind of a communication by when we start the project, because we were all on the same boat, you know. So actually, it was kind of normal. Like in a way, we were talking in every issue. We were calling each other, and was really easy actually.
Yeah, probably these days that's how most of the work gets done, right? I don't even know if it's common anymore for people to get together in person, especially in different countries. You're in Portugal, he's in the UK. I don't know where Eric is.
He's not far away. It's just 2 hours flight, you know, and I go often to London. But I'm sure if it was not pandemic time, we will meet easily. But and probably the project will go into the different directions. We don't know, but because I believe if the connection is good, that will translate into the pages, you know. But it went well.
Awesome. Ram described the work with you as a collaboration in which both of you got to realize their ideas. So how was the collaboration and the work with Ram? Did you bounce ideas back and forth? Did he give you a script that you then got to implement your own ideas? I know there are certain things in there that you proposed that you brought in that wasn't in the script. So talk a little bit about the collaboration between you and Ram.
It was natural too, you know. He's the easygoing guy. He knows what he wants, but he doesn't want to rule everything, you know. So he gives space for me, being the artist, to communicate the best way that I feel. But I always talk with him. Like I have this idea of, for example, in the first issue, the idea of a POV. It's actually an homage to other artists like Robert Valley that they do this sometimes. And I felt it was like we had an opportunity to give a little extra in the first issue. And I felt it would be much more interesting to tell the story like that. And it was all in, like, okay, I'm with you. Let's do it. And but it was just this kind of small insights, you know, like not major, or more about the coloring. Sometimes my vision for this is more regarding, I don't know, I think this pink would be great, or this yellow would be great for this. And he did the same thing too, you know, when he wanted something like this is my idea for this. Like, for example, the cigarette burning in the same page. It was something that we were talking back and forth, because it was something that I've seen that he wanted to do in a particular way, you know. And that was like a little bit of back and forth to arrive and actually looks great.
Yeah, there's like a uniqueness to each issue, right? Like you mentioned the POV shots of Laila in the hospital. Ra mentioned that idea came from you, and he was surprised, not surprised, but positively surprised about the outcome and contributions there. That again shows that artists can implement their ideas, and why it's important for writers to listen to an artist, because they have a different perspective. And I guess it didn't take much convincing, or no convincing at all, to get those shots, that perspective into the book.
It was natural. Everything came naturally with this book. You know, it's not something that was really. It was our job, because everyone was a little bit crazy back then. You know, like in personal lives. But this project actually was kind of almost a salvation, you know, because talks such in a deep level of important things for us humans, you know, like the emotions that we want to consider important. And the book was kind of like a good place to be. So every artistic decisions were made kind of easily, not I'm thinking on something crazy to present to you, and I'm doing not like that. You know, it was like pretty natural.
Yeah, yet you still had to decide on what to use for each issue and what to use for each scene. So in issue 2, you capture the essence of Bartharn's and Darius' relationship perfectly. The issue is set in the future, like I think 8 years from the beginning. Yet you create a sense of nostalgia, because you capture the Mumbai's outskirts. How did you approach realizing that feeling in your art?
I've been in India before, so that helped a lot. Because it's I don't know if you've been, but it's such a strong visually place, you know. I mean, even in the north or the south, and I've been in Mumbai too, you know. So I went to my private files, photography that I've done 10 years ago, and was kind of constructing between that and personal references from Ram. So we kind of mash up everything. So I didn't want to be like also with this book, and especially in when Mumbai is set like it is in issue 2. I didn't want to do something like really far away from the reality. Even being there, I didn't know. I didn't want to do this kind of stuff, you know. So Ram helped me a lot with some key references, so I didn't go like really far away.
Yeah. No, the art in this book really makes me want to go and visit.
Okay. Go, man! It's a fantastic place.
Great representation. And so in issue 3, then you use like a complete different color palette, right? The neon colors in the apartment, without putting music notes in your art. You can tell that there's music playing, people dancing, mainly through the colors you picked. How important is that color palette, or generally color palette, that you're using there as a stark contrast between this issue and others?
Every issue, I feel that has different palettes, because the story is different, so the mood gets different. Everything kind of goes into different backgrounds and experiences. So I took that into coloring too. And for that particular issue, my view of it is that I wanted to do something acid, you know, like acid colors. So I went through to it, you know, like I really want to do something that makes you trip a little bit. I mean, as possible as it can. It can be with this art. And I went for those colors. I've studied a little bit this kind of tones, and I thought those ones match really cool, you know. So I was really pleased with those pages.
Yeah, they work. They really communicate the atmosphere. Like it feels like you've been put in that situation.
That's great.
Then in issue 4, I think you draw Laila with 6 arms, but she's in her human form, right? So talking to Darius. I don't know if you remember that panel. But other than when she was part of the Pantheon, so she's in her human body. Why did you choose to portray her that way in her human body? I was like thinking about my theories there and talked to Ram about it, but he said no, that was not the intention. So I was just wondering, Layla in her human form having still 6 arms, what the intention was.
Yeah, it was kind of something that we've discussed. I think in between the three of us, is just to kind of envision it's like just to be in the vision of Darius, like how he's not seeing it, but it is what it is. Yeah,
it's like
yeah. That's why to match the look in these eyes is a bit bad, and that dialogue is strong dialogue. So
was like his realization that like, oh, she's not human, like she's the goddess of death. Really awesome. Because my theory was like, or one of the theories, there's so many theories, that's why this book is so great. You can have so many interpretations of the same story that keeps changing depending on how you read it. And one version is like, oh, maybe all of this is a construct of Darius, like Darius as a Hindu praying to the goddess of death creates that story, or the story is created really around him, but him talking to the goddess of death every time he's experiencing death. It's just one of the theories that makes this book.
Yeah, I mean, after it's out there, you can theorize as you want, one thing is when we create, then it's alive, it's an alive thing. Everyone can interpret it as their own thoughts.
Yeah. In issue 5, then Layla takes a trip from Panjim Airport to Palalam, and then we get to see the scenery of Goa. When I talked to Ram, he mentioned that's actually a trip he made himself. So he commemorated his personal experience in that scene. How were you able to capture that like personal experience Ram had in your scenery without being there yourself? Is that again pointers that Ram gave you, or?
I've been in that pitch too,
there you go.
Okay. And Goa used to be Portuguese, so we have some other places like Dio. There was some small villages because of the time of discovering. So I had the iconography is a little bit similar to small villages, Portuguese villages, So it was kind of easy, and actually I wanted to do something spectacular out of it, Not spectacular in a way that's like explosions or something. It's spectacular in a way that's concise and is a vision, and you can feel the warmth and how beautiful the place is, because it is, in fact.
And it again speaks to the importance of the color as well. And you did not only the art, the drawings, but also the inks and the colors of this book, again, being nominated also for coloring for the Eisner. So I feel this book benefited from you doing both, or all three, I guess, art, inking, coloring, because you got to realize the vision that you had and completely see it through. I saw in the book, it said Ines Camaro. I hope Amaro is credited with coloring assists. What does coloring assists mean, and what was her role in this?
Ines helped me in the flat coloring, so the grays, and it would be not possible without some flat artists participating in a book, and her work was really, really good, and I'm really pleased with the partnership we did. And yeah, the coloring, like doing the whole thing, kind of closes the personal vision of the book. That's why it's completely different than working in a team that is not related. For example, some projects that I've done for Marvel, they lose a lot because of it. I've started just doing pencils, and then somebody's going to ink your pencils, and then the coloring is done by another person that is not related with the team, you know. So that kind of transcends to the pages, you know. In the end, everything that you do in life and in the project will translate to the pages, you know. And those most of the projects that I've done for Marvel, they suffered a little bit because of it. And the plus point of this project, I believe, is because is the vision of is my vision out of it, you know, with the help of Inês, but is in the book I feel it's about color. It's not just about the drawing, it's more about the coloring that kind of transports you there. And I've lived in Asia for a bit, and I know the colors are different there. And especially in India, the atmosphere is much heavier, and the colors get not this bright that we have in Europe or Southern Europe, but it's like a little bit more condensed. And I was trying to do this, and I believe if was somebody that was just coloring it just for a regular job, it would not translate that.
Yeah.
Sure.
And your art style is very playful. Like it gives the story a lightheartedness that balances out like the heavy topic of loss and heartbreak and grief and death in general. Why do you think it's so important for this book to have that counterbalance?
Because the story is a counterbalancing between life and death, you know. So I always try to play little things with these little kind of contrasts in the coloring or in the drawing or with the sharpness or the light, just the line, you know. Because in the end, everything contributes to that feeling, you know, of contrast and the roughness of the contrast, but also the beautiful part of the contrast, you know. So the conflict, not the contrast, the conflict. So yeah, well catch.
So were you familiar with the Hindu pantheon before working on this book? And how did you approach bringing those characters to life? Because there's like a reference, right?
I didn't get it. What's the question?
The Hindu, so yeah, I'm talking about the Hindu pantheon. So Kali and Prana and Brahma, just the different characters of the Hindu pantheon. While they're not real characters, they're still the mythology. So you have some references there. You can't, I guess, move away too far from those or mythologic characters, but still creating your own version of them. How did you approach like bringing the Hindu pantheon to life, like all the different gods and goddesses?
I received help from Eric and Bram himself, of course, but my approach was a little bit like Miyazaki, exaggeration of some stuff, but in the way giving it credibility, you know. So it's something that is there for ages. So that was my approach to it, you know, like Braham when he has like 3 big heads, and this kind of something was just for fun, you know, not but at the same time, all the movement was, for example, was inspired in Big Lebowski, you know, like this kind of not sharp guy in a way, but always present, you know. That's what was my take to the characters in the personal level, you know?
Yeah, and I wasn't familiar with the Hindu pantheon, but as I was reading the book and rereading it, I was like, I want to know more about the characters. So I was like just searching online for who those were, because they are named in the book. I don't think any of them. I mean, Prana is like has a similar spelling than or even that, I guess it's just means breath. It's not even, there's not the god of life in the Hindu pantheon, but finding those references based on the images and based on how the story is written in general. I was able to identify most of them. I didn't even think about searching more about the goddess of Texas, because I think that was a joke, but Ram was like, no, there's actually like a goddess of wealth. But I think that speaks also to the art, me, like characters not being named, but still me finding Hindu mythology references that lets me identify like Kali, Prana, and even Agni. I mean, as like the god of messaging. Yeah, no, I don't know if there's a question in there, but like just that angle is great. How do you work usually when you create your art? Do you like background music? Do you like background noise in general? Just silence? What's your preferred environment when working?
It depends with music in general. Yeah, like radio or something that I personally like, But I with this kind of projects, you spend so much time doing it that you kind of get bored and jump to different stuff. So I listen podcasts. I listen just the sound of old movies. I listen to radio, music, YouTube, people talking. Like that. Yeah.
Yeah. So broad mix out of everything.
Yeah, it depends on the day because after doing this for such a long time, I know the specific time of the day that I enjoy working. So I try to respect that. And each time of the day, I like to. I'm sure most of the people listen to different things, So yeah, it was like that.
Awesome. Let's talk about Day Tripper. I think Ram mentioned that the book functioned as like an inspiration to write a story. Your art is very similar, meaning like playful and fluent. Do you mind being compared to Gabriel Bar, and how much of an influence was Day Tripper?
It was not an influence, straight influence. I've read the book, and actually I'm going to read it again because he wrote such a beautiful message to me. And yeah, I mean, I think Fabio and Gabriel approach to the book is a bit different than the approach that I've done. I think are more related like a kind of Italian fumetto, but in Latin America or Brazilian way. And mine is a little bit in between different references, But yeah, there's a connection in it, definitely, because of the theme.
Did Fabio or Gabriele reach out to you?
They reach, and actually, it's funny because I was in San Diego when they won the award for the book, and I didn't remember it because I mean it was so long time ago. I think it was 2009 or 2010, something like that. And I cheered with them. It was really cool because we had friends in common, and yeah, it was a really cool memory that they brought in. Yeah.
Nice. And they reached out after seeing the success of Laila Starr.
It's kind of they wrote I would call it an introduction kind of way to the French edition. So yeah.
Nice. Again, all those translations, getting the good stuff.
Yeah, it's like that.
That's awesome. Wow.
But it's one thing with this project, sorry, Thorsten, that is beautiful in a way too, is that everything is fluid, like the connections, even the Fabio and Gabriel or Fabio text about it, a memory that we were together, and I was not the one contacting them, like there was something spontaneous, and that's beautiful, everything is connected.
Yeah, it sounds like it's such a great industry, and community that like helps each other or like communicates with each other, and everyone hopes for each other's success. It sounds very positive. Is that generally what you experience?
It's not really like that. I mean, it's
Okay.
in the end of the day, it's just about the people you really know, or something that you feel connection with, because it's a huge industry. In the end, it's just an industry. So you get to know people just rarely, so you feel it when you feel something good about someone that's not common. So of course you have colleagues, and you have co-workers, and you have people that you work with, and you respect them, and you like to work with them, but in a personal level it's another thing, it's not that common.
And there's only this like limited opportunities to actually get together. One of them is, I guess, San Diego ComicCon, right? That's the biggest. And that's also when the Eisner winners will be announced. Will you be there? I think July 22nd. When I talked to Ram, I had the dates all wrong, but it's July 22nd when they'll make the announcement. Will you be in San Diego?
I'm not sure yet, but I will let you know. Yeah.
Sounds good. One question I think this book asks the reader, and that's I'm going to ask you the same question: is if you could choose, would you want to be immortal?
Sorry, repeat the question again.
Yeah. So if you could choose, if you could decide, would you want to be immortal?
Of course. Yes. There is no doubt about it, because if there is no timeline, there is no joy.
Yeah.
Yeah, of course. You need to work for the infinity, but everything is finished. Finito, it's like everything is as a time. Everything has a time, longer or shorter, but is in between that time what you can do.
So, but being immortal would mean there's no end, right? Like you live forever. That's an interesting answer. Ram gave me the same answer, and I was like, I feel the book answers with no. Like life without an end is meaningless, because you basically can't put things in that perspective, and you have there's no urgency for you to live. There is no meaning in the small things if you have a time horizon that is infinite. But
it's a personal thing, I believe that the infinite doesn't exist. The infinite is something that we project, because the things are ephemeris. It's like they show up and they go away, and that's the beauty out of it. Because if we live with taking in consideration that everything is for granted, you don't move. That's the thing, why to move? The rush is the time. If there is a rush in comments, that's what gives you the pump, even if it's harder, because you suffer. But suffering that's my perspective. Suffering is part of the process, and the end is just the finish line is not the most important. The most important is the journey, and what you make with the things that you earn in life, good and bad.
So in that instance, I guess immortal still means there's an end. It's just further out, because, as you said, there's an end either way.
Curse, it's like the Blade of the Immortal. I don't know if you've read the book, the Japanese book, manga. It's a curse. And actually, in some Asian, some mangas or some animes, they explore that direction, like being trapped there forever, like in the body, like the soul trapped in the body for such a long time. I totally think in that way.
Yeah, I guess it depends then on the rules of immortality, right? Can you still die and just not die of natural causes, or like can you just not die?
We don't know.
Your soul lives on.
We don't know.
So
We
can't pick anyways.
Yeah, we can think how it is if we are just souls that going back and forth into animals or into trees or living beings. We don't know. Maybe it's that. Maybe we can be a tree in the next life. I don't know. Something like that, or a cell of water. I don't know.
I saw online you're taking commissions, so we definitely have to talk about that after I stop recording. But for everyone else, where can they find you?
I'm reworking on my website, but there will be everything in there. But I'm represented by Felix Comics Art, and everything related with the original art or commissions is you have to talk with them. Yeah. So basically, we release from time to time some open window of commissions. I've recently finished one that was from 2020 because it's not easy to find the right time to do it. It's a heavy job. So yeah, it's with them.
Especially when you do art, inks, and colors, like you're doing the job for three basically. So you have like
in a way, yes, but actually you can save a little bit of time when you're working everything by yourself. Because you don't need to tighten up everything. So because you can interpret it in the next stage. So, but of course that's a lot of time consuming. Yeah.
I'll link to Felix Comics in the description of this video, so people can find your site there. I know it's not your website, but you have a representation there, and I saw all the amazing art that you created, previous work, commission works, and whatnot, and they all look great. Filipe, thank you so much for joining me today and taking the time out of your busy schedule to discuss this amazing book. I really hope you win all 4 Eisner Awards, but I know it's while this is rewarding, it's not about that. It's about the book. If anyone, I don't know why you watched this video with spoilers in it. If you haven't read it, but if you haven't read it, read it. If you have read it, read it again. I think I read it 8-9 times by now, and I find new things in this book every single time. There's so many things in the art, in the background that you can discover, in the story itself as well, connections that you can make, researching like the characters on the Hindu pantheon itself. It's like an amazing rabbit hole. You'll enjoy going through. So yeah, thank you so much again for joining me today.
Thank you, man, for having me in your show.
Thanks.